What's going on, guys? It's Lew McCoy hanging out with you, and I'm here with my good buddy, TiborasaurusRex.
Howdy, Lew. How you doing, man?
Quite excellent. You're looking good today, sir.
I am looking good.
You clean up like a shiny new penny.
Yeah, from train hobo to smart guy in 5 seconds. Well, 5 minutes.
Quite the transition.
5 minutes and a wire brush.
Yeah, dear. Oh, man.
You're shorter than I expected.
And we're hanging out with two living legends today. Well, actually, I'm hanging out with three living legends.
Oh, dear.
And it's our pleasure to have in our mobile disc jockey studio today, Mr. Phillip Naman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad you guys came back out here to Southern California.
And we've also got Mr. Kelly McMillan from McMillan Stocks joining us today. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. It's great to be here in Southern California. Always enjoy getting together with Phil and Rex, and looking forward to the rest of the seminar.
Yeah, so we're having some fun so far. We talked a little bit about internal ballistics. It's fun to be able to hang out with the guys who are so into it. People from all over a bigger area together like that is finding the common ground is always nice.
We had a gentleman fly in from Hawaii
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah, I told them that we're going to eat a steak together at some point. So that's the plan.
But you're right. We have a very strong concentration of people with this much interest and passion. You know, in this one room, everybody's here looking for the best and trying to be the best. And it's, you know, we're desperate. We're disparate, I think is the term I'm looking for, not desperate. Where, you know, long-range shooters over here, long-range shooters over here, but this seems to be just a center focal point where we've all come in together, and it's great to meet these people.
Well, you know, anytime you run into a person with the same passion that you have, it's just good to be together. You know, I had a meeting with my customer service reps in the office yesterday because they're all fairly new. It just so happened that I hired in 4 new customer service reps. And I don't call them salespeople because we don't actually go out and sell. We let the customers call us, we take care of questions, and we help them through the order process. But these guys were on the phone for like 45 minutes, and they're just having fun because they're all gun people. And I said, guys, you know, when a customer finds somebody that shares the passion that they have, they just want to talk. Because there's so few in the real world that they can really talk to. So don't let them distract you from doing your job.
Especially here in California. They are a rarity.
Yeah.
And
I need that job. That'd be fun.
And California is kind of a different world out here. Rex and I have been trying to acclimate to the culture out here.
Yeah, I drove through a toll booth, and I didn't know what to do. It told me to go onto some website. So I go on the website, and then it tells me to create an account, and it doesn't tell you how much the toll is. And then they ask you which road you exactly drove on. I'm like, dude, I don't know. And so I was doing this, and then you have to like fill out like what your third dog's middle name was from 1987 or whatever. And it's just like I was pounding on the table, wasn't I?
A little freak out.
I tell you what, when I am governor of California, my first act is to get rid of all diamond lanes and toll roads. That's it. It's a freeway, man, and everybody's going to have to drive 70 plus or get off the road.
Yeah. So
When can I vote for you?
Starting the campaign right here, right now.
But yeah, it's awesome to come to events like this because the passion amongst it, particularly this field, when you talk about precision rifle shooting, particularly in the long-range rifle shooting, it's like a high-disciplined field. And so people that get into it are like usually highly disciplined in other areas of life. And so they're usually pretty cool people, and they're easy to get along with and hang out with, and you can carry on a conversation, and you don't get a lot of the tough guy attitude kind of deal or any of that stuff that really throws a monkey wrench in relationships. But it's just nice. They're gentlemen usually. So I always enjoy the company, and it's neat to be able to connect with those folks that you establish a relationship with, maybe on the computer or, you know, talking to them on the, you know, texting on the keyboard, but pretty cool.
That was kind of our mission too, Rex, was to break guys out of the matrix. And once you meet them in real life, face to face in person,
absolutely,
you've got a face that matches up with the zeros and ones, and it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. So it's kind of neat. And all of us kind of have a different media outlet. We have our own shows, and we talk about this topic. So it's kind of like interesting dichotomy that some people accuse us of sometimes is because we're outdoors guys. We have these passions that we do, but then we go onto the internet and communicate with people on the radio and stuff like that. But really, it's reinvigorating like Americana through people who are maybe glued into those things. And it's like the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, right? He had to go into there to get people out of it. And so that's kind of what we're doing in the media world. It's an interesting job, but it's a lot of fun, though, too, because there's so many cool people out there that you never knew existed till you can get into the line of work. So
it's amazing to me in California, we've had these things called Gunmageddon, just these horrible sessions of laws that were passed in the last few years. We can't buy mail order ammunition. That's just the start of it right now. There's so many more things that'll take effect in the next year and a half. And I meet gun owners, and they're like, what? When did this happen? And it drives me up the wall because we've been banging this drum that if you own a gun, you need to be voting. You need to understand what's going on. We're here at Bass Pro Shops. They should have a voter registration card with your 4473 form. If you've got to fill out the paperwork, it takes 25 minutes of paperwork to buy a firearm in California. So why wouldn't you slide over a voter registration form for them at the same time? And if a guy says, well, I don't want to vote, so you know what? Don't bother buying the gun because you're just going to be loaning it. You're not going to own it. You're going to have to turn it in later if you don't show up and vote. We have between 8 and 10 million registered gun owners in the state of California. The last presidential election, we had 6 million people vote for Hillary Clinton. So if the gun owners actually showed up, registered, and voted, we could save this state ourselves. And it is so frustrating every election cycle to see them stay home and say, I don't care, I'm moving to Arizona. I don't care, I'm going to Idaho. You know what? President Trump needs to set up his wall around California, and we need to quarantine this infection and cure it here before it ruins the rest of the country.
Well, it's an interesting problem because one of the best points of the demographic of people who are gun owners and stuff is that they're autonomous, independent,
law-abiding citizens
that don't need anyone to be their mommy, so they're not enthusiastic to participate in this beast of whatever it is, a political situation.
It's a beast.
So that's the thing. Their strong point is what bites them in the butt. They're so independent, they don't even want to engage in that whole deal. They just evade it. They don't need it. They don't need that kind of crap in their lives. They're too busy with good things. But that good point is just like really thinking about the big picture, I think, is what needs to be communicated. It's like, hey, man, we know that you're awesome and you don't need to vote because you don't need these guys' help, but we need to kind of get on the same page here because they're going to take everything you got. So
we used the frog in a boiling pot metaphor before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what it seems to be doing. And these guys that aren't necessarily involved with things, the new laws and rules just kind of sneak up on them. And then before you know it, you can't even buy ammunition anymore.
So you're up in the Northwest, right, Kelly?
No, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, you're you're in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. I'm, where everybody that's leaving California wants to go because of the gun attitude there. Though we've been kind of swinging a little bit liberal from the political standpoint, we still are a red state, but we've always had an open carry law in forever. And now we have, legal concealed carry without a permit. And,
good.
And I've always wondered why I, as a law-abiding citizen, was more dangerous with my sidearm under my shirt than it was when it was on my hip. I just have never been able to figure out. So I think it was a great move. People always say, well, because you can get in places. I says, yeah, but you don't worry about me. The last time the crooks worried about whether they had a gun under their shirt or not was, never. So law-abiding citizens, we know the laws aren't written for the criminals, and they, by definition, don't pay any attention to the laws. So.
And really the way it works is the Second Amendment is our carry permit.
Right.
In all honesty. And it's a shame that they've piled so much unconstitutional laws on the thing that it's hard to navigate that stuff because what hill do you want to die on? How much time do you want to do for obeying the Constitution?
Yeah, you're
so
it's
a predicament.
And actually, it did a couple of studies here that talk about people who commit crimes, violent crimes. And here's the general public, right? And here's people with previous arrests. And then down here is the lower level of law enforcement officers who commit violent crimes. And lower than that are CCW holders. So when you think about it, these are people who care for the law, obey the law. We go over and above to do these things. They're not out there Rambo. They're not brandishing. They're not all the terrible things the New York Times and CNBC tells you that they are. These are people who are concerned about what's going on. Had we had a concealed carry carrier at the schools in Florida, that maggot would have hit the dirt face first a lot earlier, and that's what is called for there. In California, Governor Brown just signed a bill that we cannot even have a concealed carry on school campus. So as a good person, you cannot be there. Only the bad people are invited in. And then he also signed a bill that takes away mandatory sentencing for the use of a gun in a crime. how do you? There is no logical. I mean, the only consistency is hypocrisy.
Yeah, the law favors the scumbag in a lot of places and dumps on the law.
As long as they vote
citizens,
Democrat, yeah.
It's a shame. Yeah, on a different note, I mean, it's nice to get here with the law-abiding citizens, the good guys, and kind of share ideas and technology and different strategies and compare notes. And I mean, it's always neat to be able to learn from such a thing like this too. As you get so many guys who are into it, you can see all these different angles of approach, different ways of skinning a cat, different ways of thinking about things, different products out on the market, and it's pretty cool. Now, I had heard that you had some new stuff coming out.
We do. We've been real busy in the last year and a half or 2 years designing new products for long-range shooting and extreme long-range shooting. I've gotten back into the competitive part of what really made McMillan in the beginning. You know, my father was a bench rest shooter, so we actually started with competition stocks. Now I've spent a lot of time over the last 3 years since I sold the rifle company focusing on what we do and how we do it in the stock company, and it's made a real big difference in the number of people that are looking to us for new products.
Sure.
And
go ahead.
His new designs are awesome. The Game Warden, the Game Scout for giving a tactical edge, pistol grips, and the higher cheek pieces for long-range hunting, and a lightweight function, the MC3.
Right. Exciting new stuff. You know, McMillan's never been in the injection molded plastic stock business before, but we decided to come out with a new line. And the only thing that made any sense for us is if we could do it better and we could produce a stock that was better than anybody's out there, using materials that nobody else is using a process that nobody else uses, and come up with something that fit that, you know, $250 to $400 price range to be competitive with all the other injection molded plastic stocks, but with something that was obviously at first glance different and better than anything else out there. And when we were able to do that and come up with that concept and prove it, we finally decided it was a place where we could be and get those entry-level guys that just couldn't afford McMillan fiberglass stock but really wanted to upgrade their factory gun.
So with this new plastic technology, can you expound on the details and specifications a little bit? A lot of guys who are really into it would probably be curious. And what do you guys got coming out?
Yeah, we're using two different stocks that are synonymous with McMillan. The A5, we use that pattern for our Legend, which is the tactical stock, and the Game Scout, which is the best-selling hunting stock that we've made in a long time. Because of the vertical pistol grip and everyone's penchant for shooting longer and longer, it gives you that ability to shoot from the ground with the right position and the pistol grip and trigger relationship so that you can make those long shots without struggling. You know, the old conventional long grip hunting stock just doesn't fit the way we shoot anymore. It was originally designed to shoot with your elbow up in the old traditional style. Now everybody's shooting down and compact if they're shooting offhand or they're shooting from the ground. In any chance they get. So,
and the scope size has determined a lot of that.
Absolutely, we've found that if you want to shoot, say, a 50 or 56 millimeter objective lens on your scope, so you get great light gathering qualities. You know, we can shoot right up until 30 minutes after sundown. Well, there's some times if you get a little light gathering, that's an easy shot to make. So they're having higher rings, and now all of a sudden, you need an adjustable cheek piece to be able to get behind the scope and be comfortable with it. So we put adjustable cheek piece on some of our hunting stocks, and really makes a difference for those guys that are taking long-range prone shots for game, or even just for having a rifle that they want to shoot 1,000 yards with.
Yeah, so the ergonomics are always kind of evolving as people's shooting style changes, and you guys are rolling with that as well. It's cool to see.
Well, we like to try to stay up with what everybody's doing. We talk to people every day, and when I design a new stock, like I did with the A5, I went on Sniper's Hide, which at the time was almost a brand new forum, but it was a bunch of guys who were law enforcement people and former military, and I said, tell me what you want from a stock to make it the best tactical stock we can make. And we came up with the A5. I gave about 5 of them out to those guys so they could, kind of own it. And, that was a kind of a calculated risk on my part to get those guys involved, because I think almost all of those forum members ended up buying an A5 at some point, feeling like they were part of the whole process, which, but from a standpoint of providing shooters what they want, you don't really know what they want until you ask them. Same way I came up with the exit stock. It's really the first specifically designed stock for F-class FTR, which is the type of F-class that you shoot off a bipod. Mm-hmm. Well, I thought in the beginning, what do you need to do special to build a stock to shoot off a bipod? And they were using A5s, they were using MBRs, they were using everything. You can stick a bipod anything. Well, we listened to some of the USA team shooters, asked them what they wanted. We gave them as much as we could give them all in one stock, and they used those stocks to win the world championship in 2017 up in Canada. So we got the feedback. We gave them what they wanted. Every single guy on that team said my scores went up when I started shooting this, and they were able to win the world championships. And that, to me, made the whole thing worthwhile. Never anticipating selling a bunch of them, because I wasn't sure how many F-class FTR shooters there were out there. But it's become a very big item for us after that success with the world team. A lot of people want to up their game and try to compete with those guys, so they've got to use the same equipment.
Yeah, it's neat because there's a lot of different parts of the system that interface with the human, but the stock is one critical part that's got to be kind of right. For what you're doing, it's got to be matched to the task, so to speak. And that's important. One thing I always did like about the McMillan, like I've run the A5 for years and years, is just they're so stout and rigid, and I like the simplicity. There's an inherent beauty in simplicity of design, but having the quality there. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. It doesn't look like it came off a spaceship or anything like that, but it really does get the job done.
Like some
I
of the
like
modular
that.
chassis, it's like, okay, where does the ray gun fit?
And some of that
you
stuff
mount
is
it right
cool.
onto the rail on the side of
That
it.
was that. I missed out on that one.
I mean, I got stuff like that too, and I get it. I do get it. But when I get to work with a rifle, where you actually need it to not be all screwed up, and if you got to go into long-term operations or something, or need something for a hunting trip, I mean, you can't have stuff come loose on you. And so I always like the inherent simplicity but ruggedness of the McMillan stocks for a long time.
Well, it all depends upon your application, too. Like we were talking like a week ago, Rex, about the differences between a work rifle and a play rifle.
Absolutely. Yep. And so sometimes a guy's work rifle might be a competition rifle. That might be hunting, or it might be tactical, right? But yeah, I mean, there's different strokes for different folks. What we do here in our particular world is trying to actually get people to be competent in the system rather than getting the neatest, cool stuff that looks neat, but actually getting stuff that works very well. And so that's kind of the general direction we're going.
I've been waiting for that MC3 stock since you first told me about that, and it's great to see them. But when they first came out with the polymer stocks, like what was this, late '80s?
Mm-hmm. The injection molded plastic,
and
they're hollow.
You could hold the pistol grip, and the forend you could actually twist it.
Yeah, I'll be yelling at those tomorrow, I believe.
You could seal your lunch in it, so it was made out of Tupperware. And so everybody's always held back from that. But if we've got an MC3 over there, if you pick this thing up, it is absolutely solid.
It's actually done right.
I smacked Seth with it, and he just fell straight over. Stock's in great shape. It's awesome.
Yep. Well, I can't wait to see that thing. I mean, I looked at it a little bit, but it does seem pretty stout,
It's solid.
Yeah, that's cool. And those advancements in... and how you design it from the ground up, if you're thinking about it from the right perspective. When they invented injection molded stocks, they're thinking, well, the advantage of this, it'll be super cheap, and they can make $1 bazillion,
and
right?
It keeps your lettuce fresh.
But if you come at the same product from a different approach of saying, okay, I don't care about the expense part, but we want it to be awesome using these components, then you can achieve something that's still good, but it's still not breaking the bank. Still a competitively priced deal. So
that's a funny statement, because when I sat down with Poly One, they're one of the biggest polymer manufacturers in the world, and I wanted to work with them directly because I had some referrals. As it turns out, my advertising agency also handles their advertising, so it just worked. But when I sat down, I said, I'm serious when I tell you I'm not doing this to make money. I said, yes, it has to be profitable, but most everybody who gets into the plastic stock business does it because they can do it without ever touching the product, because they send it off to a molder, and the molder molds it, and they'll even put it in the box for you. And if you want them to, they'll ship it to your customer for you. So you can make some money without having to put any labor in it. Now, in my stocks, the fiberglass stocks, there's 8.5 hours of labor in every stock we make. I love people to come to the shop and take a tour, because there are two things that people talk about McMillan fiberglass stocks in negative terms. One is they cost too much. Two is they take too long to get. And when they come to my shop and they see how every single stock starts with an order, and we make them custom for the guy, letting him pick out the colors, the action, the barrel contour, the bottom metal, the weight, how they want it made. We give them all those choices, and then we follow that through the process, and it comes out the other end exactly what he wants. They say to me after they've taken the tour, they say, "I will never complain again, I promise." Now I understand why they cost what they cost and why it takes as long as they do. And if people want to have a McMillan stock, but they don't want to wait, I say, look on our online store. We carry 500 stocks in there that one may be suitable for you if you're not going to complain that it's a transition camo rather than a molded in marble with 3 pinks in it.
See, I was an impatient man when I was having this surgeon built for me, and so I wanted kind of like the more arid camo, but I just went with that because to me it's really about the user. I can rattle can it later, but yeah, I was looking at the functionality, the ruggedness, and how well the thing would operate more than the color, because that's a superficial deal. And that's something that, just to expound on that one last time, the thing I like about McMillan the most is it's not really a superficial kind of branding. It's quality. Yeah. And that's the part that I always thought was pretty cool. So,
well, thanks. I appreciate that.
No,
we work really hard
for
that image. Mm-hmm. Well, when I take people on a tour, I introduce them to a lot of my employees and tell them how long they've been working there. And I have probably 7 or 8 employees work for me over 30 years. I have about 20 that have worked for me for over 25. And over 50% of the 70 people that work for me have worked for me for over 15 years.
Wow.
So these are really talented craftsmen who know their jobs and who love the fact that they're working in an effort to make the very best fiberglass stocks on the market, and coupled with the best customer service we can possibly give them. They take a lot of pride in that, and so it's easy. I don't have to motivate them much. They stay motivated because they know what the reputation of the product that they're making is, and they want to make sure that they don't let anybody down. So it's really cool.
So it ages like wine then. It gets better with age. I love it.
And that's the secret to success too, guys, is surrounding yourself with competent, intelligent, and passionate people.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot in this room, because everybody that gathers together here is because of a love for the sport or the craft and the skill and the art and the science. And you, Mr. Rex, you're kicking some butt up there today, man. You're in the zone.
I'm getting sweatier and sweatier, Lew. Wait until 4 hours from now.
I'm a little scared to get up there. I mean, Rex is such a great speaker in this forum, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going to bore these guys to death. But I can tell you one thing I like about these type of forums: when you get guys that admit to being interested in long-range shooting, you're past the guy who swears he can shoot a 1/4-inch group with his factory Savage with factory ammo. So these guys, they're not at that point. They've gone past that. They're really serious now, and they really know a lot of this stuff. It's more about how much further can I push my
this is where they've come with
capabilities with more knowledge and more practice and more information.
Right on.
And the other good thing about the RX18 seminar is, we can have more practice and stuff, but that's time and that's money and that's barrels. And if you can take your existing level, which is competent, I mean, these people out here seem like they know what they're doing, and I've met a lot of nice guys this morning. If you can take that to a next level and skip, I don't know, 1,500 to 2,000 rounds of burning barrels.
Fast forward a few years, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you can skip that forward and say, oh, that's why we're over here, make that jump and make that change, then the time invested and the effort invested to be here today is absolutely worth that on the RX18 system.
perfect example. You were talking about a round heating up in the chamber. If a guy didn't realize that had the effect that it does, and his third shot of a group where he's sat there for about 3 minutes after the one before with the round in the chamber, and it's always the third round, and he can't figure out why it is.
The stock is
Now
wiggling. I want my money back.
Yeah, now you've told him. And now he doesn't have to shoot those probably 1,500 rounds to all of a sudden it clicked. Well,
knowledge
this is how I'm
priceless.
shooting it. Oh, yeah, I've been closing the bolt on the round for 3 minutes before I pulled the trigger.
It's 50 degrees warmer when it goes
Exactly.
off.
You save guys like years of chasing their own tails by coming here, man.
Well, I've chased my own tail for many years and spent probably $75,000 on it, man.
I saw that video.
And you actually caught it.
That's the impressive part.
But no, it's fun to be here and what's really fun is I like afterwards. I'm doing all the projection, but afterwards, sitting down and listening to everyone else's stories, I learned so much at these things. There's a lot of, and a lot of the questions are showing me that wow, that's a whole thing I never even thought of, and so it's like a hive mindset kind of deal. Like if you get a bunch more people on a topic, I mean, you can really explore all the boundaries and stuff, and it's pretty cool. So that's one of my favorite parts from my perspective is listening after I'm done with my spiel. So.
Speaking of spiels, Phillip, you're running for governor pretty soon, huh?
We're just going to do a takeover.
Okay.
We're tired of what's going on.
Easier.
Actually, I've started a new political party. I've given up on the Republicans in California and the Democrats, of course. We are the Tar and Feather Party. We're just,
I don't actually have to live in California to vote for you either, do I?
no, if we can have illegal aliens vote,
Yeah, you can just come
Arizonans
across the
can
border,
vote too.
Just put a little spray tan on and I'm good.
We're gonna tar and feather everybody in Sacramento and start over. We're moving on.
A fresh start. I like
That's
that.
a good start.
Well, thank you guys so much for dropping in here during our lunch break and the meeting of the minds, hanging out with living legends such as yourselves. Oh, come on, Phillip.
We've seen living legend. I've seen living legend. Yeah, not a living legend.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and we're going to resume the rest of the afternoon here. So good luck, Mr. Rex.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Lew.
Hey,
Glad to be here.
Thank you, guys. We'll catch up with you folks in Listenerland in a little bit. Thanks for tuning in.
Try to step up, she hits me, disassembles my leg. So I went to the doctor and he gave me a leg. Now she waits, slung up, just dreaming, playing that hope that she accuses, scared of leaving with me. No, she's a Minefield, she'll bite your body from the soul.